I think what is clear, though, beyond any doubt, is that you cannot defeat the Palestinians. I come from a very prominent Zionist patriotic family. My father, who's probably the most well known, was the general Mati Peled, who was a young officer in 1948 and a general in 1967. Early in my life, of course, I supported my father's views, and I was a Zionist like he was, and he never gave up on the idea of Zionism. While still in uniform right after the war, he said, "Look, we have an opportunity now because we're strong and we're here for good, and our existence is no longer in question, no longer in danger. We should allow the Palestinians to have their own small state in a small part of Palestine. We can make peace with them and then make peace with the rest of the Arab world, and so on and so on." But nobody else thought that way, and as soon as the war was over, they began building enormous cities and towns in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, basically erasing East Jerusalem and erasing the West Bank. It's this ideology that Palestine is not Palestine, it's the land of Israel, and it belongs not to the Palestinian people who have lived there, but to all Jewish people around the world. If you have an ideology that's supremacist, then of course you have to use violence. The Zionists as a movement, and then the State of Israel, which was born of that movement, have declared a war against the Palestinian people. And so that war, we've seen ethnic cleansing, we've seen genocidal policies, we've seen the racist apartheid regime put in place, and the terror the Palestinians suffer from or are faced with is daily terror. It's not knowing if you can walk down the street and not get beat up or stabbed or murdered, if your children are safe going to school, if your house won't be demolished, if your brother or sister won't be taken away and kidnapped and disappeared. So in 1997, my sister's little girl was killed in a suicide attack in Jerusalem. She was 13. And that's exactly the kind of tragedy that forces you, shakes you to the core. You can't look at the world the same way. It pushed me in the direction of examining what I was taught in terms of the truth, in terms of the existence of what is Israel. It wasn't until I began that journey and went through it for a while that I came to the realization that actually I was living in really a colony, superficial, artificial reality that is not real. It's not grounded in truth. It's grounded in this apartheid state that was created, and then based on lies upon lies upon lies that gave the legitimacy to the state of Israel, to this existence of Israel. What we saw on October the 7th is we saw Palestinians coming out of Gaza and completely paralyzing the state of Israel, completely paralyzing the myth of the great Israeli military and the great Israeli intelligence services and so on. Palestinians who had nothing to do with this are paying a heavy price, and that's what Israel does. It was humiliated, so now it's taking out all its revenge and all of its anger on innocent people, on innocent civilians who had nothing to do with the attack. I think it's absurd to condemn people who have been oppressed for so long when they rise to resist. Resistance is always a response to oppression. And the Palestinians' response to the greater violence, by and large, over 75 years, has been mostly unarmed. If there's something to condemn, it's to condemn the apartheid regime, to condemn the violence, the savagery that Palestinians suffer every single day. Thousands of Palestinians who are being arrested and killed in the West Bank as we speak. The racism against Palestinian citizens of Israel by the state and by just individuals. To condemn a nation that's been oppressed for resisting, it's a height of hypocrisy, and it makes no sense. I think what is clear, though, beyond any doubt, is that you cannot defeat the Palestinians. They call it Hamas, they call it this. It doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter which particular movement Palestinians belong to. Palestinians will not be defeated. When we call for supporting Israel and, supporting Israeli victory and all that nonsense, that means more death, more destruction, more racism, more innocent lives being wasted, and it's a war against peace. It's a war against justice. I think the events of October the 7th and what has happened since then have allowed people to see this much clearer. And my hope is that this major shift that I believe took place on October 7th will, propel the Palestinian issue in a way that, first of all, will garner more support internationally, but also allow Palestinians to demand what they really deserve. I think it's time to demand all of Palestine. It's time to demand free and fair elections over all of Palestine, one person, one vote, which means dismantling the apartheid state.